On NFL Live, the Steelers start this season the way they ended last one, with a win thanks to Big Ben and Santonio Holmes. But it comes at a high cost. How long will they be without all-hair, all-world safety Troy Polamalu? Week 1, game 1 in the books, but we've got 15 more to go. We'll set the tone and pick all the winners. Football's back. NFL Live has your back now.
Welcome to NFL Live, presented by Wendy's, exclusive sponsor of Football Friday.
Well, it was a win for the Steelers, but not a win-win Thursday night. Yes, they beat the Titans 13-10 in OT, but in the process may have lost Pro Bowl safety Troy Polamalu for a significant period. Injured his left knee on this play, as you can see, when the Titans' Algie Crumpler fell on it after a Titans blocked field goal. That was basically the end of Polamalu's night. So what to make of what we know about it now? NFL Live off and running. Trey Wingo here, ESPN.com senior NFL writer John Clayton there. John, the initial diagnosis after the game was a sprained MCL in that left knee, 3 to 6 weeks, but they said that was preliminary. What more can you tell us?
Well, it still seems to be holding up that it's going to be in that 3 to 6 week range, but obviously they have to be very cautious about that, because if you go back to 2006, what did he suffer? It was an MCL. It was in the left knee. So when you put all those things together, they're going to be very cautious about it. But I know that there's a relief fielding over in the building. They think that he is going to be back this season. It's going to be tough, though, because in this 3 to 6 week period, they face all the good quarterbacks like Jay Cutler and Brett Favre and several other good ones, Carson Palmer. But it does look like they'll get him back. It may be closer to 6, but right now it's holding up at 3 to 6 weeks.
All right, John, thanks. Much more injury updates with you throughout the show. So here's what John was talking about. Let's assume worst case scenario from what we know now. Here's the Steelers' schedule over the next 6 weeks. One common theme, as John alluded to, big-time throwers of the football. They could see Jay Cutler, Carson Palmer, Phillip Rivers, Matthew Stafford, Brady Quinn, and Brett Favre, all without their 5-time Pro Bowl safety. All right, so you hear sprained MCL. What does that mean? Let's bring in ESPN's injury analyst, Stefania Bell. Stefania, what more can you tell us about what a sprained MCL actually is to a knee?
Well, nothing tells the story, Trey, like a visual aid. So I brought a knee to share with you. And you're looking at the right knee from the front. This is the patellar tendon, which anchors the thigh muscle. You've got the thigh bone, the shin bone. And if you turn to the inner side of the knee, this broad piece of tissue here is the medial collateral ligament. Now, when a player gets hit on the outside of the knee, which is what happened to Polamalu, the knee will bow or stretch, and these ligament fibers can tear. That's what an MCL sprain is. Now, the time frame sounds about right. If it's an isolated tear, the good news is that he likely won't need surgery. But being the kind of player that Polamalu is, running all over the field with a lot of directional changes, those are the kind of things that stress the MCL. So I would expect him to be on the outer boundary of that time frame.
All right, Stefania, thanks, and we look forward to your injury info all season long on our online fantasy football show, Fantasy Football Now, at 11:30 on Sunday. We continue here on NFL Live, joined now by Darren Woodson and Teddy Bruschi. And Teddy, unfortunately for you, you had this exact same injury a year ago against Seattle, correct?
Yes.
So what happens now? We heard from Stefania what it is. How did you treat it? How did you handle it? What does Troy Polamalu have to go through now?
Well, personally, barring the diagnosis of anything worse, this is good news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If it's the MCL, that means this will heal itself and it will not need surgery. Personal experience, I've had multiple MCL injuries in anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks. They're degrees of seriousness, really. 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, and that goes from 3 weeks all the way to 6. Now, how you treat this injury is a lot of ice and a lot of compression. Compression to get that swelling moving, to get it out of the joint so that MCL can lay down. When he eventually comes back, possibly playing with a knee sleeve or maybe a knee brace, and that is going to bring into account effectiveness.
Okay, and that will obviously mean there may be some difficulty in cutting. Darren, you played the position. What do you think the impact is going to be of Troy Polamalu's absence on what's a pretty good defense in Pittsburgh?
Oh, no doubt about it. And he's the guy, he's the mainstay, he's the guy that brings that fire plug to that defense. And when you look at Troy Polamalu on film, he's the guy that gets from sideline to sideline. I think Dick LeBeau, defense coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is going to have his work cut out trying to replace Polamalu, not only in the blitz scheme, but also in the cover two, where he has to come off that hash and make a big play on the sideline. Troy Polamalu, one of the best because he's able to react with such speed and such force, they're really going to miss this kid because, you know, he brings so much to the table for this organization, and Dick LeBeau really utilizes them in a lot of different ways.
We saw that early in the first half Thursday night. And listen, these are just the numbers. Take them for what they are. But the Steelers are actually 6-2 without him, allowing 10 or fewer points in those 6 wins, including 2 shutouts. And since 2004, the Steelers have allowed 17 points per game with Polamalu and 10.5 points per game without him. Look, I still think they'd rather have him on the field.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
But those are just the numbers. Okay, so despite the injury, as we said, the Steelers did go on to win. Here's how it happened. Ben Roethlisberger trying to fire up the crowd as they get set to win what they hope would be their 7th straight season opener. And here's why you need Troy Polamalu on the field. Kerry Collins going back and stop that.
Oh.
Come on, Darren.
One
What was
hand
that?
grab. I mean, not only was he turned, twisted, and had to go back in a one-on-one situation, but he turns around and gets a one-hand, left-handed grab. Unbelievable play.
He's made of Velcro, and then this is the play that nobody else in Pittsburgh ever wants to see again. It's just terrible angle as Algie Crumpler just sort of falls on that knee right about there again. As John Clayton said, it looks like on the outer limit of those 3 to 6 weeks, he was done. Neither of the offenses on Thursday night really got into any rhythm until this. Ben Roethlisberger with time over the middle of Hines Ward for 29 yards. And Teddy, the pump fake really set this up.
Pump fake really was big in this game. He used it multiple times. As you see with that pump fake, it brings the linebackers in. It sucks them up, and then the veteran Hines Ward uses their momentum against them, finds the open area. Big completion for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
An interesting night for Hines as well. More on that later. And that, as they say, led to this. Hello, Super Bowl 43 Redux. There it is, Santonio Holmes. 9 catches, 131 yards, the exact same numbers he had in that Super Bowl. But without Troy Polamalu, boy, they attacked that secondary, Darren. There's Justin Gage wide open.
Yeah, and they're in a thirds coverage, and, you know, basically ran a wheel route, and Justin Gage was out in the flat. One thing Ike Taylor did was take his eyes off. He was looking at the quarterback. Justin Gage gets behind him for the touchdown.
A 3-play, 71-yard drive and a pump fake on the fan with the football. That's not right. All right, game tied at 10 in the 4th quarter after a couple of field goals. And, boy, this is when things really look good for Pittsburgh late in the contest. It's Hines Ward. All he has to do is fall down. It's a game-winning field goal. Michael Griffin strips the ball. Oh, Hines, no.
I just got caught up. You know, I just need to get down on the ball. Just trying to make some plays. The guy fumbled the ball, and, you know, I'm a vet. I should know better.
His first lost fumble since 2006, so that led to overtime. Steelers got the ball first, and the Titans never saw it. One of the few successful rushing plays right there. Well, day more, but Hines Ward getting some revenge.
Talk about making up for it. 2 catches in the overtime drive and that crushing block right there.
He's always blocking people. And then Ben Roethlisberger with all kinds of time. And what a play by the rookie wide receiver, Mike Wallace, for a 22-yard gain. At one point, Ben completed 16 in a row late in the second half and in overtime. And here it is. There's your winner right now, Jeff Reed. Steelers win 13-10. Happy, happy, joy, joy. They start the season 1-0. Now on ESPN.com, James Walker writes, the Steelers did what champs are supposed to do. Find a way to beat a quality opponent when the original plan didn't work. Just getting warmed up on NFL Live. The Eagles are counting on Brian Westbrook to carry the load this season, and counting has all kinds of connotations for number 36. We'll explain, plus lots of big matchups week 1. Woody and Teddy literally put their reputations and their Super Bowl rings on the line with week 1 predictions.
James Harrison has been outstanding all year.
The strip and sack by Harrison. James Harrison pounded him, and it's a 2-pointer. James Harrison came in low. That's his patented specialty. James Harrison now is the Steelers' all-time sack leader for a single season. 16 sacks. Picked up, James Harrison has it. He's running up the sideline.
That is the biggest play of this football game.
NFL on ESPN America. Tonight on ESPN America.
Major League Baseball continues on ESPN America with live primetime games every Thursday night.
Cubs are coming up. Hammers this one deep to left field.
It's the last full month of the regular season, and things are really starting to heat up.
Back-to-back for the Cubs.
This Thursday, Brewers at Cubs, only on ESPN America.
news in Minnesota. A federal appeals court ruling today allows Vikings defensive tackles Kevin and Pat Williams to play throughout the 09 season while they continue to fight a 4-game suspension for using a banned substance. Both had tested positive for a diuretic, which was not on a list of ingredients in a supplement they took. This has been an ongoing battle in court. Let's go back to John Clayton. John, how great of an impact is this for the Vikings?
I mean, it could be the difference of winning the division or being a wild card. That's how important it is, because now they know that the interior of their defense, one of the best in football, is going to be available all season. I mean, this is a huge decision for them, and it really shows you that Pat and Kevin Williams in some ways outsmarted the NFL by going into the Minneapolis court system as opposed to just taking it straight to federal court, because now what happens is that, you know, they've got a friendly ruling, and of course now a ruling that has to go into sometime next year to see where they go. This is a big victory for the Vikings and a big victory for the Williams.
All right, now what about the Saints defensive ends, Charles Grant and Will Smith, also facing 4-game suspensions?
There is the likelihood that they may be suspended next week, because certainly what you might want to see is that the NFL is not going to take the position this week because it was too early in the week to make a decision. But now I think the thought is that because they don't have the backing of Minnesota. I mean, they're straight in the federal court system. In the end, I think they could be suspended next week and be out from weeks 2 through 5.
Completely different results for two different teams facing the same situation from the league, John. Very interesting. Okay, week 1, got a lot of quarterback issues we got to talk about injury-wise. Let's go with Matt Castle's knee for the Chiefs against the Ravens.
Well, it's right now going to go up to game time, and it's very shaky right now. He was able to do a little bit more with the knee on Friday, but in the end, it's going to be a game time decision. That knee is very tight. It's close. In the end, I think Castle may miss the game. There's still a chance he could play. At least there's some encouragement.
Tough place to start at Baltimore. What about Kyle Orton's finger for the Broncos?
It looks like he's a go. Everything seems to be positive. He was doing more throwing today. His long pass may be seriously affected by this, but the fact that he was able to do all this practice on Friday, it looks like he's going to play on Sunday.
Mark Bulger, finger issue for the Rams against the Seahawks.
Everything good in that regard. He had a great practice today, and it looks like he's set. They list him as probable. Now, certainly they have to worry about any kind of a hits coming back from center. He's protected, but right now he is going to start.
All right, John, then we got running back Brian Westbrook. The Eagles coaching staff admitted his touches are going to be tracked Sunday at Carolina. How closely are the Eagles going to be monitoring his knee all season long because of this?
Well, you could tell by Friday's practice how closely they're going to do this, because they had to practice inside today, and so they really limited him in doing anything because they didn't want to have any extra pounding on the knee and the ankle. And certainly they're concerned about both injuries because it's been something that's been recurring for the last couple years. So in the end, they're going to try to watch things. They're going to be cautious. He'll play, but not probably 100% of the time.
All right, Professor, thank you. As we go next level, Brian Westbrook's touches are the key to the Eagles' success. He was healthy enough to get more than 5 touches in 12 games last season, and as you can see, the more he got, the better the Eagles got. They went 4-0 and scored an average of 30 points the 4 times Westbrook touched the ball at least 25 times. So clearly, guys, Brian Westbrook is going to be a key to this game. But as we're going to do all Fridays throughout the season, we're going to look at all the games and break down and make our picks. Let's start with the Eagles at Carolina. A lot of people, Darren, think the Eagles will be a Super Bowl team. Take your pick.
I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. And why? I think it's going to be a great matchup between this guy, Asante Samuel, going up against Steve Smith. Asante Samuel, the last 3 years, 20 interceptions. The only guy that's leading the league, that leads more than that, is Ed Reed. I think Asante Samuel will really show up this week.
And I like the Eagles also because of this guy, Donovan McNabb. Westbrook's reps may be limited, but he will still find him, and they may be impact reps that change the game.
Donovan, where's number 5? Last time we saw Delhomme threw 5 picks. Dolphins, Falcons, take your pick.
I like the Falcons in this game, and Michael Turner is the guy that you really have, the burner, like you always call him, Trey. Michael Turner has been a difference maker, 220 yards in last year's opener, big-time player.
I like the Dolphins. I know coming from the AFC East, this guy right here is a big-time player. He will find a way to make plays. Tony Sparano, a great head coach. He will have this team prepared and ready to go.
Ronnie Brown did that Wildcat thing all over the Patriots a year ago. All right, then we have the Dolphins and the Texans.
I like the Texans.
Dolphins, Jets, Texans.
Jets and the Texans. I like the Texans in this game. Andre Johnson, probably not the best receiver in the league, 2 after Larry Fitzgerald. He'll have a big game this week. Look for him to go deep, often, early and often.
And I hate to say it, but I like the Jets this week. With Mark Sanchez.
You hate to say it, huh?
Coming out of that division, our rival, but I think Sanchez is ready to go. He's got that New York state of mind. That big city doesn't scare him.
All right, Cowboys at Bucks, Karen.
Oh, the Cowboys will win this game. The reason why this guy right here, Barber, will come out in the second half when it's third and short, and in the fourth quarter, he's going to be the bruiser. He'll close it out for this team.
1-2 punch. Barber, Jones. These two guys are incredible. Out of the backfield, running the ball. No matter how they get him the ball, they will get him the ball. These guys will get a lot of touches, and these guys are the two MVPs of that offense.
And then you have Tashard Choice, who also played well last year as a rookie. Jags at Colts. Take your pick.
I like the Colts. I like this rivalry. We'll go back and forth for a while here, but I like the Colts in this game. Reggie Wayne will be the difference. 100 yards in his last 4 or 5 games against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's going to have another big day this week.
The Colts are the anti-Lions. They have won 9 straight regular season games, dating back to last season when they started 3-4 and ripped off 9 straight wins. Still ahead on this edition of NFL Live, more on the strange saga of Richard Seymour. Is he really 5 days away from losing a season and over $3.5 million? Plus, fantasy football owners, if you're undecided about which one of these wide receivers to start, we go back to the professor. John Clayton will tell you who's banged up and who isn't.
What do you get when you put a powerful boat in a mud puddle? Well, the Jet Sprint, of course. The town of Wangaratta in Central Australia hosts the Jet Sprint Nationals every year. The 14-foot boats hit speeds of up to 60 miles an hour around the 3-foot deep track, where crashes are common. The jet boat originated as a practical way to get around the shallow, rocky streams and rivers of New Zealand without a propeller. The Australian tracks are man-made due to the lack of interior waterways. The design includes many hairpin turns to accentuate the boat's manoeuvrability and power, as well as the skills of the driver. It's a muddy race against the clock to become the next Australian jet sprinting champion. Stay tuned for more amazing games here on ESPN.
Saturday on ESPN America.
About hockey being back in Chicago. Who's going to win a championship first, the Cubs or the Blackhawks?
I don't know. I don't know if the Cubs will ever win the way it seems to be going. But hopefully the Blackhawks. I think we're pretty close. You know, we're a young team. We seem to be getting a lot better from last year. We have a great coach now too, and he seems to be doing a lot of great things too. You know, Joe Quenneville, and you know, we're a young team. I mean, who knows how long it'll take to get there.
Devin Hester, the Chicago Bears' dynamic return man, added wide receiver to his list of abilities in 2008. After hauling in his first receiving touchdown of the year in Week 3, Hester took over as a starter and showed why he is one of the most explosive players in the NFL. With new quarterback Jay Cutler at the helm, Hester looks to become one of the NFL's premier receiving weapons.
Well, more now on the ongoing saga between the Raiders and Richard Seymour. The team has drafted and signed the letter that would give Seymour 5 days to report after the trade over the weekend, but it's still not certain if they sent it. And the letter gives the team the right to put Seymour on the reserved left club list, which would suspend him for the year, but it doesn't mean they have to go down that road. All right, let's go back to ESPN.com senior NFL writer John Clayton. More injury news. John, what about running back Pierre Thomas for the Saints as they get set to start the season at home?
Well, it's official. Thomas is out for this game. That knee, the medial collateral ligament, just not healthy enough. And really, it was in that 3 to 6 week period range, and they were about week 3. So he may be a week away, maybe 2 weeks away from getting back on the field, but he's not going to be on the field at the game. That means Reggie Bush starts. Mike Bell also sees action.
Okay, that means they're playing the Lions, who have lost 17 straight regular season games. What about Anquan Bolden and that hamstring, John?
I don't think he's going to play. Now, he did a little bit more in Friday's practice on that hamstring, but in the end, he's not had a full practice since August 25th. When you put everything together, you know, Ken Whisenhunt likes full practices. I think there's a chance he's going to miss this game.
And then what about wideout Bernard Berrien for Minnesota?
It's going to go up until game time. He's listed as questionable with a hamstring, but I do think that he is going to play. It's a little bit of a gamble. They got to make sure that they don't stretch it out. They're going to test him out in the pregame, make sure he stretch out well. If he does, he'll play. If not, he'll sit.
All right, John, thanks. So let's go to Take Your Pick, the sequel, and let's start with that game, Minnesota at Cleveland, with the Brett Favre era beginning for the Minnesota Vikings. Darren, take your pick.
I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings, and the reason why it's not going to be this guy, Brett Favre. It's going to be all about Adrian Peterson. He's going to get his 20 to 25 touches. He's going to have at least 100, 140 yards this game.
I also like the Minnesota Vikings, and I think Brett Favre knows that early on, just don't mess up the game because this guy can take it over. It's going to be a lot of AP, AP, AP.
AP all day. By the way, Brett Favre's 270th straight regular season start, tying the record set by former Viking Jim Marshall. Redskins, Giants, Darren, take it.
You know, it's hard to say. So I'm going with the Giants this week. I think the one thing about the Giants is they want to play smash mouth football with you all day long. They're going to run the ball successfully. Eli Manning will get his touches, but this guy right here, Brandon Jacobs, will be the difference maker.
And that's how they establish that physical presence is 27 Brandon Jacobs. I also like the New York Giants in this game. I think they're going to be a great team this year, reestablishing who they are.
Second straight season, the Skins have opened up the season at New York. They lost 16-7 last year. Bears, Packers, take your pick.
Oh, I like the Green Bay Packers. Listen, when you watch Aaron Rodgers this preseason, he was a highlight reel.
He's great.
6 preseason touchdowns. Doesn't mean much. It's preseason. Didn't count. But this guy has a big arm, has a great arm, gets the ball all over the field. I like Green Bay in this.
I'm going with the Bears. I'm going with the Bears because I like Jay Cutler. They finally got a quarterback that they love in that city, and I think he's ready for the big time. He's going to make these big throws and pick up where he left off last year.
177th regular season meeting. Bills, Patriots, Monday night opener.
I think this is the obvious. I like the Patriots in this game. This guy next to me is very slobbering.
I think he might like him too.
But Randy Moss is going to be the difference maker. Buffalo has no one on the outside who can match up with him one-on-one. He'll get his touches and get his TDs.
And the offense is obvious here, but the defense is going to make a transition from the 3-4 to the 4-3, and this player right here is going to make that transition seamless. Gerard Mayo, a great player, can do it all.
By the way, the Patriots have won 11 straight meetings over the Buffalo Bills. Okay, so Darren and Teddy see it the same on a number of games. They look for the Lions with rookie Matthew Stafford to go into New Orleans and lose their 18th straight regular season game. Jim Moore was 3-0 in season openers with the Falcons. He should improve on that, they think, when the Rams come to Seattle. And on Monday night, they look for the Chargers to make it 12 straight wins over the Raiders. When we continue on NFL Live, now that we've picked week 1, of course, we jump all the way to the playoffs. We're going to give us our Super Bowl predictions before the season is fully underway.
Already?
Coming up, PTI. Tonight on ESPN America.
Florence, a city rich in history, one of the staples of Western civilization where romanticism and art go hand in hand, usually forgets all about those qualities for one day every year. Steeped in almost 500 years of tradition and described loosely as a mix between football and rugby, with a good dose of bare-knuckle boxing added to the mix, Calcio Storico is not a game for those who are squeamish at the sight of blood. It's a sport where, for 70 minutes, friends become enemies. Calcio Storico can be traced back as far as 16th century Florence. At that time, several soldiers used this game to train for combat. The only rule was, and still is, that you cannot hit an unconscious player. Fair enough. Over the centuries, not a lot has changed in the way Calcio Storico is played. But then again, that's where the beauty in this bloody spectacle lies. as players do whatever is humanly possible to score against opponents who will do the impossible to stop them. The game is fairly simple. Score in your opponent's goal and avoid being scored in any way humanly possible. Did I mention bare knuckle boxing? Defence in this match is also rewarded, as any attempt on goal that sails high results in a half point for the defending team. Like any other action-packed encounter, the final minutes lead to an emotional ending. So amidst the traditional costumes, blood, and team-coloured smoke bombs, the battle comes to an end in front of thousands who celebrate the city's colourful and unique past. Stay tuned for more amazing games here on ESPN.
For the widest choice of official North American sports merchandise, for the perfect gift to collect or just to look good and support your team, visit espnamerica.com.
Sunday NFL on ESPN America. What better way to end the week than with live Sunday night countdown?
Touchdown.
Then it's a triple header with Vikings at Browns, Redskins at Giants, and Bears at Packers. A brand new season of NFL continues this Sunday on ESPN America.
He says it there, it shows up here, fresh off the presses. Eagles guard Shawn Anders ruled out of Sunday's game against the Panthers after his back flared up again. Broncos rookie running back Knowshon Moreno's sore left knee leaves him questionable for Sunday's game at Cincinnati. And the Bears list cornerback Charles Tillman as questionable, even though he's practiced most of the week. Peanut, of course, missed most of the summer because of a bad back. All right, let's go back out to John Clayton. John, give me your latest injury headlines going into week 1.
Well, I think you have to still go back to the quarterbacks. It's going to be a game-time decision on Matt Castle with that medial collateral knee injury. He was able to do a little bit more. In Denver, it does look like Kyle Orton is going to be able to play. Also, St. Louis does have Mark Bulger. And, of course, Matt Schaub, with that ankle injury, he's going to be okay in Houston. At running back, of course, Pierre Thomas is out for with the knee injury for the New Orleans Saints. That means Reggie Bush is going to start. And Anquan Bolden, I say very iffy, and is probably going to miss the game. That's a big one for Arizona, not having him against San Francisco.
All right, John, thanks. And boy, that Cardinals offense has really not been the same all summer long. That prolific unit we saw rolling through the playoffs a year ago and getting to the Super Bowl. Here's why I mentioned the Super Bowl. First full weekend of the season, guys. When it's all said and done, I'm going to remember these predictions. Who's going to be?
You're going to remember these predictions.
You got 20 seconds. Who is it, Darren?
I'm going to say it's the San Diego Chargers and the New York Giants, and I think San Diego wins that game. I just think that Phillip Rivers is going to come into his own, and they're going to win that one.
I like New England over the New York Giants.
Homer.
Of course, I'm a homer. But instead of the offense, I like Vince Wilfork and Ty Warren really stepping it up this year on the D-line.
They both like the Giants to make it to Super Bowl 44. They did win Super Bowl 42.
Defense wins championships,
but you knew that. Thanks for watching. See you later.
E60.